How's it going, hockey fans? This is episode 89 of the Clappercast. I am Burke, and as always, joined by my co-host, Sean. Sean, what's going on?
I'm still basking in the glory of winning both of those fantasy hockey matchups that we were talking about earlier this week, or last week.
Yeah. You have my
I
teams.
have all of the bragging rights.
You have my teams to thank for that, considering that they handed you the victory by not showing up at all.
They did. They performed significantly below average last week, so
yeah,
my team kind of just rolled over to victory.
Yeah, I don't want to pin it all on my team, but that's exactly what I'm going to do. And they really let me down, and they're all going to be fired. So,
yeah, no keepers on your
trade them all, get rid of them all. And but at least I am in the finals in 1 out of 3 of my leagues, and I'm battling for third in the other 2, and so that's pretty decent, you know.
Listen, it's my first year in fantasy hockey, so I've just got that beginner's luck powering me on right now.
Yeah, exactly. But that's not completely true because we had a shared team last season, so you do know.
First solo year in fantasy hockey.
Yeah, there you go. So to be in 2 finals is impressive. So yeah, kudos to you.
Thank you.
I'm not really being salty about being beaten. I'm just being salty. I'm more salty about the fact that my team just like fucking did nothing, and I lost because of that. It wasn't like, oh shit, that guy's team was like so much better than mine. It was like, no, my team just did nothing.
No, mine was completely average. But yeah, yours the numbers for them were just down in the tanks, down in the toilet. Like dividing your total games by your total points, it was just a very low number compared to season averages.
Yeah, so it was mildly upsetting, and I'm still not over it. But I am focusing completely on the other league now, where I'm in the finals, and those players have not let me down. So
take your bronze medal and toss it into the stands.
Yeah, I'm gonna go full Elias Anderson and toss it away. It means nothing to me. first or last.
Guess you did that with the silver, but
yeah. So yeah. Again, congrats to you for that. But yeah, I'm not over it. But yeah, I mean,
the podcast still exists though.
Yeah, I showed up. I was debating whether or not I should, but I couldn't force you to do a solo episode.
Well, like I said, if I did a solo episode, it's going to be me doing a cover of "We Are the Champions," but it's just I am the champion.
Yeah, I'd just be trashing me the whole time. That guy sucks. His management skills are the worst. He doesn't know how to pick up players. Blah blah blah. But
Jim Benning would do better than him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we have that in common. We both anticipate 0 cap problems for our teams next year. And
well, absolutely, I don't. I've got Patchy Reddy, Ovechkin, Brady Tkachuk.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of Jim Benning, I mean, did you see that comment from Adam Gaudette, about how he was like, he has like 4 points in his first 3 games with the Hawks, and he said like, yeah, they really allowed me to play my game, and I feel like this is the first time since I played at college that I'm able to do this. And it's like, huh, kind of an interesting comment there.
Yeah. That being pigeonholed into a role he's not suited for.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of tried to develop into that like third line center kind of role in Vancouver.
That energy third line center, grindy, both 2-way forward, physical aspect, but he struggled this year like immensely, and that kind of even made it harder for him to get It made it even harder for him to get the ice time he needed to even try to play the game that they wanted, never mind his own game.
Yeah, so it's kind of nice to see him have some immediate success with the Blackhawks, but extremely small sample size. So who knows, how that's going to go, and if he'll even be there next season.
Thing is, Chicago doesn't even have like a strong enough roster that he's going to get pushed down too far.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing
he
too,
could
right?
Still find that ice time or even power play time next season, even if Taves comes back.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see kind of what happens there, but yeah, I mean, kudos to, I mean, you see this a lot where guys go to new teams and they have some success, and it might taper off or it might stay, but we'll see. I mean, he's an American guy, so it's kind of cool to go back home, I guess. And we'll see. It's just kind of interesting comment from him. Be like, hey, yeah, I get to play my game. It's kind of interesting.
But yeah, you don't see hockey players kind of make a direct statement on their treatment in previous organizations. So even the like passive aggressive kind of offhanded comments like those are saying a lot when they're coming from someone who's just been traded about his former organization.
Yeah, and there's been kind of a few about the Canucks in the past few years that are like things that have come out where, you know, they didn't even talk to guys to qualify them or let them know that they weren't being qualified or anything like that. And so it's like, kind of show where you're running here, Jimbo. Like, come on.
Some poor employee relations.
Yeah. So, no cap problems. But I mean, we want to focus on the Canucks here. Instead, I kind of we wanted to just kind of speak about some positive storylines from the season. You know, some surprising players. You know, those might be good or bad. I don't know if you have any bad ones. I kind of focus on some good ones, but
I was feeling in a good mood today. I went positive. It's been a hard year, so let's go positive.
Yeah, we can do the negative stuff after the season.
We can get a trash talking salty episode later on.
Yeah. And so I mean we kind of talked about you know, some of the rookies and stuff last episode. And you know, one of the kind of the bigger ones for the Norris that we were talking about was Adam Fox. And you know, I think for people who've watched him, they're not really super surprised that he's that good because he's been good. It's just kind of, you know, thriving with the opportunity he's been given. And he's definitely been one of the kind of standout players for me as far as a surprise. You know, it's just like how many points he has and just, you know, how smooth he is and
how quickly he's developed into the level of NHLer that he is.
Mm-hmm.
Because like defenders don't often do that until, you know, mid to late 20s, and this even after they've had a few years of experience. This is his second season, I think, right?
Yeah,
and he's already sitting just under point per game, like 47 points in 51 games. He's playing 24 and a half minutes a night, and you know, massive power play time. Like he's doing it all, and he's anchoring that blue line. And for someone like him to come in and so quickly take that over is incredibly impressive.
Yeah, I mean, for a 23-year-old to be kind of at the, you know, in contention for the Norris, or at least being discussed about, you know, how he should be included in that is super impressive. And, you know, I kind of wanted to talk to you a bit about how, in my head, he seems to be like one of the first or one of the only kind of college players that has really blown up like this.
You know, that was going through my head too, because a lot of times the college players don't pan out to where their hype is when they're coming into the league, and you're totally right in observing that. I think that for him to so quickly do that and even to become that level, that caliber of player at all is a bit different for the development path he took.
Yeah, and like, not to turn this into like the, you know, anti-Canucks podcast, because it's definitely not. It's just Jimmy Vesey is, you know, I think kind of like one of the big examples of one of those hyped up college players. You know, I think he was drafted by like Nashville and didn't want to play there, and so like went back to college, and then there's that hype of like, where's he gonna go? Where's he gonna go? And he's like, oh, he's gonna go with the Rangers, and then it didn't really pan out. And you know, there's been a few of those college players that it's like, okay, they're super hyped up, and I think Fox is the first one that's like, it's legitimate. Like, he's that good, you know? And so it's kind of cool that to see one of those college guys succeed like this and just be one of the premier defensemen in the league. Like, you know, I mean, obviously you want success for every player coming into the league, but Fox has just kind of totally run with it, and he's been super impressive, and he just does a lot of little things right. And it's just, you know, the Rangers are going to be so gross, I think, in a season or two. Like, they're going to be so good.
It's going to be insane once Lafreniere and Capo Caco blossom and, you know, have their breakout seasons to go along with Zibanejad and Panarin and Buchnevich, and Kreider's even doing really well. Like, it's going to be so fun to watch that team play.
Yeah, like, I mean, they've been developing as the season progresses here, like Kako and Lafreniere have been getting better. I mean, you mentioned this, I think, last week or the week before about how they've been playing on that top line. Lafreniere's been playing with Zibanejad and looking good, and they've got Shesterkin, who's a amazing goaltender.
Oh, and that's such a key to have that goalie, that caliber of goalie, that this early in their rebuild, like to really speed things up.
Yeah. Yeah, and they've got a lot of depth pieces as well, like Keandre Miller. They've got Buchnevich has been playing top line or top two lines, and he's actually been playing on the penalty kill, I think, which is a new thing for him this season, and he's been looking really good. And so really kind of just developing the whole package. They're going to be scary.
Yeah, I've got Buchnevich here as one of my breakout players for the season, where he's kind of been hovering around that 40-45 point mark for a few years. But this year, he's basically on pace to set career highs in goals and points in a shortened season. He's only 2 goals off his career high. He needs to hit 22, and 3 points off his career high in points to hit 47. And he's been a really great addition to those forward lines and that the offensive depth the Rangers have.
Yeah, it's been,
or not an addition. He's been there for a bit, but like
his developed.
His development there. That's the word.
Yeah, he's really kind of blossomed, and kind of like I said, playing kind of like both ends of the ice. He's been playing PK, and like Zibanejad is a guy that PKs, and maybe he's learned from him, like just how to kind of play both sides, how to play that offense and how to play the defense and turn it into an offensive like potential. It's kind of like Marchand and Bergeron, right? Like they play penalty kill, and they're just like, I mean, it seems like every other game they're getting a shorthanded goal. And so I mean, the Rangers have a lot of kind of those surprises, I guess, where guys have kind of really taken a step forward. And another guy that has kind of stood out, like not so much on the points sheet, but on the back end of things, is Ryan Lindgren. He's been really developing into a solid defensive player. I mean, I remember, I think it was a season or two ago when he kind of got into that altercation with Brad Marchand, and Marchand was like, who is this guy, in the press conference essentially after the game. I was like, I don't, just some fringe NHLer. I can't remember exactly what he said about him, but he was basically like, this guy's a nobody. And it's like, no, he's actually a somebody. Like, he's actually, turning into a solid defenseman.
Yeah. He's a solid defenseman, and he is tough as hell.
Yeah.
He hits everything in sight. There was a stretch in the middle of the season where it just became a running joke on amongst like Rangers fans that he's always just finding himself bleeding for some reason. Like if the camera pans to him, he's got a streak of blood down his face, basically.
Yeah, he's a tough character. He's definitely one of those guys that's a good teammate. It seems like, kind of a guy who will stand up for everybody out there. And they've got a lot of positive things to look forward to. And I think, like, even though it's looking like they probably won't make playoffs, I mean, there's a chance, but I think Boston's just way up on them now. I think it's a successful season for them, just because they've had all these players kind of take a step forward, and if they can keep building on that, there'll be a power in the Metro, I think, for a number of seasons. They've really set themselves up, and I think we kind of spoke about this in the off season. It's just like they've really taken a lot of positive steps forward as a franchise, and they're really looking like they've accelerated their kind of retool.
Yeah, it helps when they kind of jump up in the lottery and pick up the number 2 and number 1
yeah,
picks,
for sure. Definitely
in succession like that. So that helps accelerate things a lot. But the pieces that were there and a lot of the complementary stuff that's going around their high draft picks is notable, and that's kind of what's really accelerating things.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, who's next on your list here for a bit of a surprise?
Well, I wanted to talk Carter Heggy. Early on in the season, he was kind of like a sneaky sleeper pick for a lot of fantasy teams because he started off playing big minutes with like Huberdeau and Barkov, on Florida. But he's kept it up all season. Carter Heggy spent a couple years lighting it up for Tampa Bay's AHL team, including he won the league scoring title down there. then Lightning didn't qualify him, so he signed with Florida. And this season, last season, he had 52 games played in the NHL, 13 points. And this season, he's got 35 points and 17 goals in 42 games, which is incredibly impressive. And also, 32 of his points are even strength, which like he's playing 17 minutes a night. He's not getting much power play or shorthanded time. He's not producing much on them if he even is getting ice time, and he's doing all the scoring at even strength. So he's been out for a few weeks now with upper body injury, but he's been such a breakout player this year for Florida, and he's really given them more scoring depth and filled out their top six a little bit because, after losing some guys like Trocheck, it was kind of looking a little bit weak with the players they had filling in. So to have someone like Heggy step in and give them that presence on the offensive side, especially at even strength, is huge.
Yeah, he's been very, very impressive. And speaking of Florida, I know it's a small sample size, but Sam Bennett has just it's a bit of magic there. This actually kind of really surprised me. He's got so he's played 9 games with the Panthers. He's got 5 goals and 8 assists, and they're in the franchise history. There's only been one other player that's had 13 points within the first 9 games. Pavel Bure.
So Bennett is basically Pavel Bure.
Basically,
is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. Canadian team to Florida. I mean, the connection's there. But another thing that's kind of cool for him is that he's playing center, on the second line with Huberdeau and Duclair. And, out in Calgary, there was a lot of talk about how he wanted to play center, kind of tried it out every once in a while, but it wasn't really a consistent thing there. And then, he goes to Florida, second line, and starts lighting it up. So it's like Calgary, the guy's only 24, and he's got a lot of career ahead of him, and he's a playoff performer. And so it's looking like a really good fit there with Florida. And again, I know it's not season long, but after the playoffs last season, I think I even mentioned this to you, like after our draft in fantasy, like, he'd be a good guy to pick up probably if he kind of like for fantasy, if he kind of breaks out a bit. And he didn't really during his time in Calgary, but man, he's looking really, really positive there so far. Definitely one of the best deadline deals, I think.
Yeah, and another positive about his game too is that he's a grindy physical type. In those 9 games, he's got 28 hits.
Holy shit!
So, not only is he producing offensively, but he's also creating a presence on the ice, and he's making his presence known and felt by the opposition, and that's it's pretty significant as we head into the playoffs. I mean, is he injured right now? I think he's not playing today.
He's out today. Yeah.
Okay, so he's got an entire week because Florida doesn't play again until Saturday, I think, to recover from that. But going into the playoffs again, that's another one of those big, important acquisitions for playoff hockey.
Yeah, I mean,
and like you said, he's the proven playoff performer. He's able to turn his game up and still be productive and useful on the ice in the playoffs. And if he can keep up this level of offense to some extent, that would be so important for helping Florida make a deep playoff run this year.
Yeah, he's. I think he's going to be really important for them in playoffs just because of the way he plays, and he's not afraid to drop the mitts, and just how physical he is, and that's something that you really need in playoffs. And I don't really know, outside of some of their defensemen who on Florida would really play that way. So yeah.
Uyghur's a physical-ish, but you got Radko Gudas is the main name that would fall in that category.
Yeah. So, super super positive for him. But yeah, I mean, Verhaeghe has had a really good season. I think he's missed some time with injury, which is unfortunate, but definitely
he is supposed to be back. He is supposed to be back at the end of this week from his current injury, which is a good sign that if they can get him back in game shape for the playoffs.
Another guy that's injured right now and is hoping to come back for playoffs, but has had just a really good year was Nikolai Eelers. He had a really, really successful season, and he got hurt just recently, and so it hasn't missed a whole lot of time so far. But he looked super, super great. I mean, he wasn't having like career high totals, but his pace, I believe, was a career high.
Yeah, this would have been his best offensive season, just under a point per game.
Yeah, and he really, really flourished this year, and I think part of that is probably because of the extra opportunity with Laine leaving and having only played like one game for the team, and so he kind of got, it kind of came out from the shadow of that. He's a good friend of his, but I think ultimately it was great for his career because he was able to, score and produce more and get some more opportunity, and really, really good.
He got
year
a
for him.
lot more compared to last season. Anyways, he's basically tripled his power play production or his points off the power play. So he's getting a lot more chance and opportunity, probably with guys like Scheifele and Wheeler, instead of having Laine on there, or he's getting put into the positions of being able to score, and more even strength ice time as well, or opportunity on a higher line.
Yeah, it's just been, hopefully for the Jets that they get him back quickly for playoffs because, he's, I think, a really good big part of their offense, and they've actually been kind of on a skid here lately, and they need more goals, and so if they can get Eelers back.
To add on to that, currently in the middle, or about 3 minutes into the third period of Ottawa versus Winnipeg, Winnipeg is losing 1-0 despite outshooting Ottawa 24-12. So
yeah. So
as some evidence to back up their skid and needing offense.
So Nikolai Eelers and his 14.2 shooting percentage, they need him.
Yeah, definitely.
They need him back, so he can score more goals for them. Losing to Ottawa, never a good look. And with some important playoff seeding on the line, they need to step it up here. And then I've got one other player in a Canadian team, is just Tyler Toffoli on Montreal. And he is currently tied for 4th in the league for goals. And with 27. I think he scored again tonight, so that might be 28. I'm not sure if this is up to date here. But 27 goals, 47 games, and 13 assists for 40 points. And 6 of those are power play goals. And so he's just been, a lot of those are at the, much to the chagrin of the Canucks, where he's been just scoring at will against them earlier in the season. But, it kind of looked like it was just kind of a flash in the pan to begin the season, but he actually has been scoring pretty consistently throughout the year, and
he's been dangerous.
Yeah,
because he's always finding himself in scoring positions, and he's generating chances and getting shots off. And it's like he's not just putting up a ton of goals in games against Vancouver. He's dangerous in all of them.
Yeah, and again, kind of like Eelers, it's like it's not like a career high for points, but it's pretty close, and the pace is just
I think his pace
level.
I think his pace is pretty much like the best of his career, or he's close to it.
Yeah, he's been scoring at a really good clip for Montreal, and just having multiple options on that team is good, and they have had a few guys that have kind of been in slumps at different times of the year, and he's been pretty consistent. So definitely good. But his shooting percentage is 18.1, so that's definitely way higher than his career normal. which is
his
like
career
just above 10% basically. So
yeah, so he's gonna fall back to earth a little bit, but who knows? Maybe he's able to have a higher shooting percentage in Montreal with the system they play and the role that he's in. So maybe he's able to bump that up a few points and continue being a consistent 20-goal guy over the course of his contract here.
Yeah, it's just a really positive season for him, considering he's tied for 4th in the league for goals. Like I just thought he was gonna taper off, and I picked him up in one of my fantasy leagues, and I was trying to sell high on him, and now I'm glad that no one accepted my trade because he never stopped. It would have been a really bad trade. So, it's been. He's just been scoring so much for Montreal, and with Drouin leaving and taking some time off, they need some people to score. So Toffoli having a good season, and it's really funny to watch him score against the Canucks too.
Yeah, he's really just sticking it to Jim Benning.
Yeah.
He's like, don't have time for me, I got time for you.
Yeah, my reasonable contract.
One surprise that I wanted to bring up was Max Patchy Reddy, who is currently in the midst of scoring goals at his highest rate since 2013-2014, and his points per game is the highest of his career. Like this is the first season he's hit point per game in his career. Wow. He's got 51 points in 48 games so far, and that's the best offensive production of his career. Second was last season, his second year in Vegas. He kind of bounced back after a difficult first year, but the last 2 years he's improved, and now he's sitting at over a point per game and scoring a lot. He's getting a lot of assists too, which is different for him because he's normally just a shooter. But no, he's having a great season. I've got him in one of my fantasy teams as well, and he's been a reliable producer on that. And it's really interesting to see him sitting at 30. I think he's 31 or something right now, 32, and he's having one of the best offensive seasons of his career. So it'll be interesting to see if he can keep that up for a couple more years.
Yeah, that Mark Stone and Patchy Reddy combo is so deadly, and then they add Chandler Stevenson with the speed, and so it's just so good. It's so hard to compete with that, and he's been just lights out for Vegas, and it's hard. It's kind of surprising that he's been there for 2 years or 3. This is his third season there.
This is his third, yeah.
It's just it's surprising that he's been there for that long. That he hasn't been in Montreal. And then on the other side of this too is the Nick Suzuki for Montreal has been showing that he wasn't just a small sample size success. He's actually
he's been solid. Yeah. He's been up and down, but that also goes with the team because Montreal was in a slump for a little bit there too.
Montreal is definitely up and down.
Yeah, so Suzuki kind of, his production kind of rolled with the teams, which is fair and understandable. He's been, Montreal's picked it up again lately, and Suzuki's been on fire again. He's putting up multiple points per game, like he was at the beginning of the season when Montreal started hot. So, Suzuki's got so much potential around him to be just such a well-rounded forward who can produce offensively and take on defensive roles, and it's going to be. It ended up being a really good trade for both teams because Vegas gets their guy who can score. He was kind of one of their main offensive weapons in those early years, and Montreal got a really good prospect, someone who's going to be able to come in and give them a very high-end center down the line, which is exactly what they needed.
Yeah, it was win-win for sure. I lied. I actually have one more guy that's on a Canadian team, and he's 39 years old. Do you know who it is?
Mike Smith.
Yes.
Mike Smith, yeah, he's having such a weird resurgence in his career. He's been amazing this season for the Oilers.
Yeah. That's the only word you can use really for him. It's just amazing. at the beginning of the season, he was hurt. Mikko Koskinen was playing like absolutely every single game for the Oilers, and now he's played, I think, like 3 since. Like Mike Smith has been.
Koskinen is only getting back-to-backs. Like he's playing tonight because the Oilers also play tomorrow.
Yeah, so Mike Smith has been phenomenal for the Oilers. When they re-signed him, I was kind of skeptical. I was like, oh man, he hasn't really been that good.
Same.
Yeah.
I saw it as kind of like their backup plan. Like they didn't really, they had him available to come back if they needed, and they ended up needing. And I was kind of like, yeah, well, guess he's there again.
Yeah, 18 wins, 3 shutouts, 2.30 goals against average, .924 save percentage. He's been just great for them. Just a revelation in net there. And to do all that at 39, is just superb. And I think he really should be one of the favorites for the Masterton, I think. Just because he's kind of having this late career resurgence.
Yeah, the turnaround from last year, and at this stage in his career, I think he's probably going to be the Oilers nominee for that. If I can't think of anyone else off the top of my head. But the interesting one is to see if he gets any lower votes for the Vezina.
Yeah,
he'll definitely get like local reporters, probably their their later ballot picks or something, just as some recognition. But his numbers are comparable to other guys who are going to be in contention, like Vasilevsky and
Grubauer.
Yeah, Grubauer. Guys like that. His numbers are going to be comparable to that.
Yeah, a little bit less games, I guess, but he's definitely been really important for them. Kind of like Saros, I guess, right? Where Saros kind of has similar numbers and a similar amount of games played.
Yeah.
But Saros definitely struggled at the beginning of the season and then kind of went God mode there for a while, and has kind of definitely surged back up there. But yeah, out of the top goalies in the league, like Mike Smith is definitely one of those guys that would surprise a lot of people that he's top 10 basically as far as numbers go.
Yeah, I mean his goals saved above average. He's sixth in the league for that at 12.44, and he's sandwiched between Grubauer and Nedeljkovic.
Mm-hmm.
And those are two guys who are having amazing seasons on good teams, and there's Mike Smith right in there as well. So it's just showing like his number, like he's so comparable to some of these top goalies. He's having such a great season this late in his career, so it's going to be a great send off for him. Who knows how many more years he can play, but it's reminiscent for me of the Dwayne Rollison trade back in 2006 for Edmonton. Goalie in the late stages of his career comes in and has just an incredible playoff run late in his career to push the team forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's been like I said, just amazing. And it's so cool to see. I mean, every once in a while we get these like older goalies that just keep playing. And I mean, 39's not like super old, but it is in the hockey world.
For hockey and also for goalies.
Yeah.
They're knees don't tend to last that long in that goalie position.
Yeah, for sure. And it's awesome. Like Mike Smith is definitely like a fiery guy. He plays the puck a lot. Like he's just like such a character. Like,
it's a minor heart attack every time he leaves the net, but you start to watch him and he's so good at playing the puck that you never really worry about it. He messes up once in a while, but they're so few and far between that you don't need to worry about it too much.
Yeah.
And it does so much for the Oilers being a fast, speedy team that plays off the breakout and the rush that he can stop an offensive rush by the other team and turn it around so quickly. Like he's basically a third defender out there.
Yeah, I think he picked that up from Marty Turco, right, in Dallas.
Probably.
Yeah, I mean, like Holtby, when I watched him on the Capitals, and I've seen it in Vancouver too, like when he plays the puck, it's like, what are you doing? Like, get back in the net,
please.
But when Smith does it, it's like, no, it's like a smart decision at most of the times. Like there's a few like where the puck makes a weird bounce or something where he gets burnt on it, but yeah, for the most part, like 9 times out of 10, like it's a good move. Like he either moves it to a D-man really quickly or does like a big stretch pass or something like that, and it's smart. And like, when the defensemen love it, like when he moves the puck or plays the puck, like they don't have to get smoked behind the goal line, right? So
Exactly.
and he can like stop the puck too. Like he's good at that. Like when someone rings it around, he's really good at like knocking it down and then playing it. So yeah, defenseman's best friend, and yeah, he's just been a lot of positives this season for him. And then for Koskinen, kind of the flip side of that, not as not as positive a season.
No, he's not been terrible, but he's struggled. And I mean, obviously, when you have a goalie playing as hot as Mike Smith has, there's no reason to not give him the time.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. And then that's all the players that I have on my list, but I did have just kind of a team. The two, I guess, but Chicago and LA. LA was definitely a bit of a surprise for me. A lot of their veteran players had a bit of a resurgence this season. Like, the one that was kind of most prominent in my head was Drew Doughty. Definitely a better season this year. I still don't know if he's worth his contract, but definitely playing a bit better hockey there, and nice to see. And then for Chicago, we talked about this before, but Patrick Kane and all those young kids basically playing really well. But did you have any other players that kind of stood out to you for any surprising reasons?
Nobody for surprising reasons. However, one player who's still having an amazing season, regardless of it not being a surprise, is Conor McDavid. But I did want to bring him up because heading into the last little bit of the season, the Oilers have, I think, 7 games left. He's at 87 points, so he needs 13 points in 7 games to hit 100 in 56 games. Do you think he does that? And keep in mind, he has 4 games against Vancouver this week.
So he needs 13. And he's got how many left, did you say?
I believe he's got 7 games left.
Yeah, I think he does it.
This season, yeah.
Yeah.
He's on pace to, basically. That's he's pretty close to being on pace to hitting that, which is incredible for for him to be able to do that. And I think it's not even a case of like he's good enough to do it. He just wants to, so he's doing it. It's like there's a very subtle difference that he's just like, yeah, I want to hit 100, so I'm going to do it just because I can.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be really cool to see. The pace is just insane.
Yeah, it's basically one of the best seasons since like Lemieux in the 90s. That pace that he's playing at right now.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be absolutely crazy. And I also want to see Matthews at least get 40. He's at 38 right now, but he's basically scoring at like the same rate that Ovechkin did, I think, in like 07.
Pretty close to it. Back in his like 60 goal years.
Yeah. So that'd be pretty cool to see. But yeah, I think McDavid definitely hits 100.
I hope he does. I want to see that. I want to see it.
Yeah.
Because it'd be such a cool little thing to watch.
Historic.
Yeah. Yeah, to hit 100 in that few games.
Yeah, I mean, it would be so cool to see that happen in the short season, and just to hit 100 and be like, what the hell would he have done in a full year?
Oh, he's on pace for like 140 points or something over a full year.
I mean, like, how many did Kucherov have that one year? He had like 120 or something, right?
It was about that.
There's a lot of players having really good seasons. That's really great to see. Kind of there's a lot of I don't know, I guess doubt, coming into the season that it was going to be as successful as it has been, and it's been fun to watch. And I think the divisions that have created a lot of cool storylines and mini rivalries that we'll have to look forward to moving forward. And
yeah, I've even seen some support for a long-term merging of the Canadian teams to create like a long-term Canadian division of some kind.
Yeah, I saw that as well, like earlier in the year. I don't.
Nothing much lately, and I don't think they'd want to do that for time zone and scheduling reasons.
Yeah, the
But
time zones have sucked for like the North Division. Just like we live in the West on the West Coast in Pacific time, and just how like every game is at like 4 or 5 basically, and then like sometimes there's games at like our normal start time, but it's less than half. And so yeah, it's kind of been annoying that way, and I think for like Vancouver, the travel would just suck for them if that was a long-term
it already sucks
thing.
for them to begin with, but never mind if they make a full-time cross-continent division.
Yeah, that would be brutal. Hopefully their AHL team moves, closer, as
That
the
would help.
rumors are in abundance for that. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I like seeing them play in the old divisions, but I mean, it would be kind of cool to have that Canadian division. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it would be easier for a Canadian team to win the cup, I guess, because
Yeah,
more
you have
likely.
one guaranteed to head up to the final couple of rounds, regardless, basically.
Yeah, but I mean, as soon as we can, I would hope that we return back to the old divisions.
That is the plan with Seattle coming in for next season. That is the plan to return to the old Pacific, Metro, Atlantic, and Central.
Yeah, I bet some of the teams in the Central are really looking forward to that. Getting out of the division with Tampa Bay,
Tampa, Florida, and Carolina.
Yeah, like give us back Colorado. Yeah.
That wraps things up for this time here on Clappercast. Make sure you rate and review this episode and toss a follow or subscribe our way. For more content, you can follow us on Facebook or Instagram at Clappercast Media or on Twitter at Clappercast. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll be back next week with more hockey talk.